Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
I can hear you
Alright,
too.
that's what's up.
Yeah, I'm just fixing the stream right now. Doing some weird stuff.
What stream would that be?
This what we're doing tonight.
And you're streaming it where?
On YouTube and Twitch. I'm firing up the links right now.
And do you think you'll have a following for what amounts to a mundane conversation?
Oh, I don't know. We'll find out. I figure if one dude wants to talk, it's as good as 100.
I guess. Oh, very nice. And?
And? Let me guess, you're the critical one in the group, right?
I volunteered for that this evening. Yeah.
And that's why we have these things. We got, okay, good there. It just takes forever. I only have 3 screens and I need about 10 of them for all the damn windows you have to do to set one of the things up and run it right. Right.
I think we'd be sort of more interested in getting more people in the chat just at the minute. It's now, you know, bang on 8 o'clock and there ain't nobody here.
Yeah, well, we got people that are actually scheduled to talk.
Wherever I decide.
Yep. And
we'll go to bed.
Right, so I can turn that on now.
Alright. You could turn it off.
Okay, so since we're the only two in here right now it's building, and we've already got viewers in both the Facebook and the Twitch. So we will get this party started, and I will push this button. Oh, in 1 second.
Ah, it seems we've lost Reckless.
All right, for those of you watching on, looks like Twitch and YouTube, this is our very first event. Participants, I'll ask that while someone's speaking, that we just let them speak, and maybe mute our mics too, if we don't need to be doing anything, so we don't have any dogs, kids, wives barking, whatever it may be, because that's always the best, right? No joke? Okay.
Sorry, man. I use a push to talk. I have to laugh quietly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if I do that. Now the screen should have changed. I have to check it one time before it did not change. There we go. Okay, so the general format's pretty simple. It's lined up like any other type of show. And if somebody told me that they wanted to talk, then we would kind of set it up. It's basically an open mic Friday, and anybody can jump into Discord and say they want to talk. And I've got actually some little things for the people who actually said they wanted to do it. So it looks like we have Anubis, and he's a player that comes from time to time. And Anubis, what do you got tonight? What do you want to talk about? Hello?
He's redoing his driver. Apparently he can't hear anything.
The Huntress, pass. Okay, well, thank you, Huntress, for showing up. And so if you didn't know, a lot of us might be drinking tonight, so we've got a few things here and there so that people know what's going on. We kind of anticipated that this might actually happen. So let's see here. High times. What do you want to talk about, man?
Crappy ship design. How's that for an opening shot?
That sounds like something perfect. Please do carry on, and you will see that I've actually set this whole thing up so that even you can look as cool as everyone else. I don't know if you see it.
Even me. Are you sure?
You like that? Do you see the screen? Which one are you watching on right now? Oh, I gotta push. Hold on, I gotta push the right button. There we go. So many buttons. Let's see if it comes over to Twitch fast enough. I'm not sure which screen you're watching right now. I told everybody.
I'm looking at an advertisement for something or other. The Real Star Citizens Weekly stuff. Is that where I should be?
No. Let's see. Well, go ahead, and I'll fix whatever is there. Basically, I don't know if you can see it. It's called Verse Talk, and it's basically a side-by-side little screen. Are you using YouTube or Twitch?
Hey, Dad, want to see the code I'm working with?
And then it happened. Okay.
Okay. So sorry about that.
That's okay, man.
A 4-second echo from the Twitch, so I've turned it off all.
I gotcha. Okay, so
in answer to your question, I'm not watching this on anything now. I'm just staring at the chat screen.
Okay, well, give me 1 second here, and I will see if there's something that I can do about that. Where's the damn fancy button to share this? There it is. Copy that. I will do me a favor if you can see that. That is where we're at right now. And try that link.
See, I've got that 4-second delay again. I just caught the end of your last sentence as I came.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Hello, all.
Hello. Hey, go ahead and mute until it's time for you to be called on. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and kick this off. High times. basically everybody is seeing your icon and everything that your little profile is. When it comes up, you'll see it. But go ahead, let's talk about shitty ship design. You got a little time.
I got an issue with ship design.
Okay.
I think they're very badly thought out, generally, all over the place. I mean, a lot of wasted space, a lot of bulkheads in the wrong places, turrets that don't fit. When are they going to put engineers instead of artists in this?
Well, unfortunately, that's one of the problems in the gaming industry. It's very artist-based. And they, what'll basically happen is sometimes they're smart and they do go find an engineer. You know, I was kind of hoping, I don't know if you've seen any of those videos about the architect. I'm using my quote fingers. And now he would like go through different ships and say how this is right and that's right and this is aesthetically pleasing and whatever it may be. But I don't think RSI is actually listening to these people because the reality is it is a game. Yeah, lots of things could be smarter, you know. We had this conversation earlier with another gentleman. Basically, it's like, okay, so this is 2040 whatever, and we still don't have GPS, night vision, sunglasses, compasses, or lat-long coordinates, you know. So it may be a stretch to expect them to be smart enough to use an actual engineer to design something properly. What do you think?
Well, you know, I mean, I have ships that I own, like all guys. I've got several.
Yeah.
My favorite ship is the Connie.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's big, it carries what I need, and it looks like a ship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
But it's got several major design problems in it. One of them is it's got a bridge that's way too big. I mean, all that wasted space behind the first turret.
Yeah.
What the hell's it for? And a stupid cable line across every deck. You know, every Connie you go into's got a makeshift cable running across it. What have they got? The worst bloody engineers in the planets here?
Yeah, you know, that's I do agree that they I can't argue with you, man. Some of the things I think some of it's just for aesthetics, to be honest with you. Sometimes in modeling, they just try to make things look as real as possible, and they go overboard. You know, it's amazing that you can like I was playing earlier this morning, and I walked behind these boxes, and the bulkhead that was inside this room, it was like, oh my God, they really spent a lot of time on this wall, you know, that no one can ever see or get to. But how about spending a little bit more time rethinking the layout of this spaceship that's, as the Huntress has told me, is 2949. I didn't think that was right, though. But yeah, I absolutely have to agree with you. They really should be doing a little bit more work thinking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, my other pet hate is the Freelancer. I own one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lovely little truck. It's great for running down the street and picking up your smokes or a pizza or whatever. But you've got this stupid waste with no airlock in it. You can't get in and out that airlock without killing yourself with a ladder and using it properly.
Hello?
I mean, how do they come up with a thought like that? Where does that come from?
You know, I wish I had the answer for you. You know, somebody designed it, somebody bought off on it, you know, and then somebody engineered it in game, and you know, and then somebody fell in love with it. You know, it's you know.
Yeah, but the point is, Chris Roberts is supposed to sign off on all this shit, isn't he?
Well, there's the problem, I guess.
So he's the guy we have to blame when we see crap like this in front of us and expect us to enjoy flying the damn things as though it's a real ship. Because that's the point, immersion.
Yeah.
And if the bloody airlock kills me every time I walk through it, that's hardly immersion.
Yeah.
The field of vision on the Connie's lower turret is absolute garbage, too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, why the hell they didn't invert the gunner on his way down, I don't know. Everybody else.
Well, I don't know too much about ship design, but as far as the infotainment center, the information that we're being fed when we're in the cockpit seat, I feel that it needs to be more normalized and that there needs to be more information present to us and just easier to read. Hell, I don't even know where my fuel gauge is half the time that I'm looking at the thing.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have to agree. It's I would, it's kind of like that's a difficult issue to address, specifically with anything that's instrumentation related, because every time you get into a different ship, they want you to have a different feel for that ship, and then people will start to fall in love with it. But the problem that I have with all the different instrumentations is it's almost like they're getting that after they build this and they actually get in and play it. It's like, why are these lights so, I was in the Herald today for 2 hours, and I noticed that in each corner of the dash there's like these really really extremely light button switch or buttons, and it was like, why are these so bright? They had no function. I couldn't do my engines or anything. They were just like these bright lights, so sometimes you have to wonder.
It feels like so like when I'm a backer since like late 2013 like
Yeah.
so I was getting in ships before we even really had much of anything, and we thought that the displays that popped up, the screens, that we'd be seeing information on that.
Yeah.
The issue that I have is it's too hard to read. Like even if you're looking at something,
Yeah.
you got to like zoom in really close to like figure out what it is, and there's menus that just don't make sense. I mean, just the whole stuff is a mess. I mean, I understand that they're trying to give you a different feel when you go into a new car and whatnot, but it's so foreign right now that like you just don't know where anything is, and quite frankly, the infotainment system, everything that you're getting fed to you information wise, it's all like an afterthought. It's like, okay, we're going to design the ship this way,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're just going to you know put this kind of like what did they call it before, it was like an inner thought system of just menus in front of your face.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I wish it. This is one of the most amazing games because they actually like allow us to apply it to give them input. But it's like any other thing. It's like in the beginning, that input is great. They're building off of it. They're going, hey, this guy found this. Hey, they noticed this, and then we need to fix that. And then what happens is people kind of that the whole input system kind of grows, and it becomes so overwhelming that the company can't handle it anymore. And then what happens is they start to basically hate the people that are giving them this input, because they take it as a criticism. And so there's probably a little bit of that going on. But I mean, I'm sure anybody that had basic drawing in high school could probably design a better cockpit than what we see in some of the ships. So
Yeah. Well, let me ask this: does anybody know where the fuel gauge is on any one of their ships that they pilot?
yes, I do.
yeah, I do.
Do
But
you?
I do, but I don't
Okay.
like look for it ever.
Oh man,
It's not obvious, I grant you, but I do know where they are.
I mean, when you jump in from like say my car, I've got like a Ford Mustang into let's say like a Lexus, which is two completely different car manufacturers from completely different companies and countries. You know where the fuel gauge is when you hop in one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty simple. I mean, there's certain things that's going to be standardized, even if you do want a different feel. So, I mean, they're just kind of missing the mark on that, I think, because fuck, I don't even know where one is.
Well, there's some. It's in the chat there. I've got the Huntress, and she's basically commenting that the MFDs are where you actually have all the menu choices and different displays. And she does make a point. If we really wanted to know how much fuel we had, we could probably fire up one of the MFDs, and then, basically in the real world, MFDs for pilots is they're going to have running what they want on those MFDs, whatever their preference is. So in essence, she's right. But the reality is that there's also the idea behind a aviation type HUD that we see with the left and right stance bars, and then information that moves up and down those bars, and the fuel's right at the top of that left one. So at least I think it is anyway. But we just don't look for it because that's not the way our brains are. Our brains are looking for this dial, that says, "Hey, that's my fuel gauge."
I mean, even if like it's a percent, like, oh, you're at 86% or whatever, like,
Yeah.
that's fine. It's just like every time I hop in a ship, and maybe it's because I don't spend enough time in Star Citizen as is. I just, I don't know where the fuel gauge is. I just know when I'm like half empty, when this thing's screaming at me, you've used 50% of your fuel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
So, Dublin Odson says, and hopefully I said that right. He says fuel is located on your HUD right in the center. It is represented by a vertical bar, so now you know that. He also follows up by saying, "But yeah, I looked for the standard F and E logo, just like anybody else would."
Hey, I've looked. I just couldn't find it. Like I said, maybe I haven't looked hard enough.
Yeah.
I just feel like the infotainment system should be a little more normalized.
Yeah.
And I think if they, like with the base model ships, like let's say like the Auroras or the 100Is, if they can like, find a standard and then critique it a little bit, throughout like the higher end class ships, that would be fine.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I think you're right. Okay,
can I interrupt you for a second?
Go ahead. This is your topic.
Thank you very much. Can anybody tell me where the altitude gauge is on the Aurora?
I haven't been in an Aurora in like ever, but last I thought it was in the center on the left.
Hey, keep talking, guys. I got to do something real quick.
I don't think it has one.
I don't know. I haven't been in, like I said, I haven't been in an Aurora in like ever. So I mean, like my first ship was an Aurora, and I cross chassised that to a 325A, like back in like 2014. So just to give you the kind of idea of how long it's been since I've actually been in an Aurora.
Did everybody run off?
No, I'm still eating.
I'm here.
One person left
I gotcha.
chat. I don't know who it was.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Yeah, that's the thing about these live streams. Something's going on downstairs. I got to do something about it,
Yeah, I get what you mean about them trying to make it futuristic and stuff, but there's a line of, making something look futuristic and something being actually usable. You don't want to get too fancy. You still want to make it, to where people is going to be able to look at it and understand what they're looking at. Fairly simple.
Valid points. All right. Actually, so Anubis, do you have another subject you'd like to talk about?
Another subject, outside of ship design?
Yeah. Let's talk about something else.
Okay. There's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Well, let's pick one thing.
All right. I guess the one thing that I kind of want to talk about. I mean, I guess it still kind of falls in line with ship design, but it's more or less how they're classifying ships right now.
Yeah.
Like for example, the Hornet is considered a medium fighter, but it's still a pretty small ship, and I still don't understand why they're classifying ships the way they are. Um, I mean, how much smaller do you need to be ship size for it to be considered a small fighter?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because it's like, so before the Arrow, what was a small fighter?
Right.
You know,
I mean, I thought that, like, the 300 series were considered small fighters. But they're apparently getting reworked to be a much larger ship, about 2.5 times larger than what they are now.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, they only just recently started making these, like, really small ships, like the 100 series and whatnot. Like the smallest ships that we had before the Arrow was what, the Mustang,
yeah,
and then you had the Avenger. I mean, those were relatively small ships.
yeah, yeah. I think that kind of answers the questions. The Huntress says fighters are not small, medium, or large. Huntress, I wish you were on here to tell us these things. You're very vocal in the texting, but we'd love to hear your voice if you can talk to us. Fighters are light, medium, and heavy, and you are technically correct. But and you're right, it does have a lot to do with range and where are we at here? Not so much based on size, but more based on roll and range. That is a correct statement. The
Okay.
Huntress. But I do think that there's a classification problem. The reason I think that is because it's like, if you think about when we started to notice that things were kind of askew, was the whole Valkyrie instance with not being able to carry any cargo.
Well, you also have the Carrack that is literally like shaved like a third of an inch just so that it can fit their criteria of fitting through certain jump points, so that it's not going to be considered a capital ship. Like,
Yep.
why don't they just redefine, where a capital ship begins versus where the Carrack ends,
Yeah.
instead of doing all this like work on reshaping the Carrack and just fudging numbers or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's some weight in that statement, but I also know that what'll basically happen is when they plan these games, they're supposed to plan from the biggest to the smallest. And if you think about what they've really done, is they've done it completely backwards. The first thing they did is what they gave us with space around a planet that we couldn't go to, and then these little space stations with these little ships. So they put all their work inside of the ships themselves.
I do see that, because I mean, how many revisions of Fort All-Star did we have with the extra pads being added when the Starfarer came and whatnot? But I feel like in the beginning they started with the big, as far as like, we're gonna have these kind of size ships in the game. They're gonna be multi-crewed. So they were very ambitious with how large some of the ships that they wanted, and then they kind of went backwards. They were like, okay, this is gonna be our max size, and then we're gonna fall down to where we start at the bottom end, and then start working our way, and then the middle just kind of gets smushed by the big end and the small end, and the middle end is just kind of like, where do we draw the line? And that's kind of like where the Carrack had been having issues, as far as being redesigned 3 times now.
Yeah, and well, it's unfortunately it is what it is, and I think what they're trying to do right now is just adjust as best they can. I try not to defend CIG, but I find myself doing it all the time. I do work in the industry, but I work in a part of it that it's a little bit different than what we would normally see. And the reality is they dreamt this whole thing up, and then they started working where they could, and then they're like, it's basically a situation of, oh crap, that doesn't fit. Now we have to make everything else bigger. It's like if you see you remember the great debate over what'll fit in a Polaris.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was going around for a while, and it was like, this is supposed to be, this is a Corvette. This is supposed to be a capital-ish type of ship.
Yeah, it's like the starter capital, and that's the way I felt with the Carrack, because the Carrack, I mean, there's no other ship out there right now that is doing what the Carrack does at an entry level.
Yeah.
You know, so like the way I see it, like the Carrack is pretty much like the entry level into something like maybe the Idris or the Javelin. You know,
Yeah.
like it's a ship that can do so many things, and you know, they're just trying to squash it down to this certain narrative of like, we want it to still fit through these jump points.
Yeah.
So why not just size the jump point up just a smidge so that it'll still work with the Carrack? Why does the Carrack need to go down the ship pipeline 3 times?
Yeah. And that's a very valid point, and here's why. You know, when you have to fix something in the simulation world, you look for the fastest, easiest way that is going to cost you the less man hours, because man hours equal money. Now, all they had to do was say, okay, that's a so-and-so size jump point, and then that fits in that jump point. You know, it's like no one's ever heard of a hybrid before. You know, it's it's kind of like this is going to sound a little wonky, but if you know anything about recreational vehicles, you have different classes. You know, you got your class A, B, and C, right? You have to have a certain driver's license to be able to drive certain ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is
I can attest to that because I am a Class A CDL driver. So.
Well, there you go. Then you know that there are Class A size vehicles out there that are Class A lights, and you only need a C license to drive them. So I owned a 35-foot RV, and I don't have a Class A license. But because my vehicle is the size of a Class A vehicle, but the weight of a Class C vehicle, you see what I'm saying? They tried a little too hard to make these exact puzzle pieces fit when all they had to do was say, hey, this is unusual, we'll call it a hybrid, and it'll fit through the medium-sized stuff. You know? They still pipe their own development.
To kind of segue that a little bit, as far as like, you know, the jump points, are those like actual physical sizes, or are they just, you know, some kind of narrative where like they're saying that, okay, a ship this size wouldn't be able to work through this point? Like, is it a physical size? Like, is there like an actual physical like ring or something that the ship has to fly through, or like what is that?
From what
it doesn't exist at all yet.
Yeah, it doesn't exist at all yet.
Right. But I mean, hypothetically speaking, what were they aiming for as far as these jump points?
Well, the theory behind it is that what they'll do is that they'll just digitally classify a specific port, and this is basically 0 equals that, or a if then statement in an algorithm someplace that says that, you know, there's a number assigned to each of these ships. 1 is the smallest and 5 is the largest. And it will only allow you to use a jump point. You know, basically you roll up on the jump point in your ship and it says, okay, that's a size whatever ship, and that'll fit. So I'm gonna let you use the jump point. You know, there's more than likely no physical object. The only thing is no one's actually ever seen any of these jump points. So this could be a situation where, you know, you see in the sci-fi movies where, you know, it's like you have, you know, these devices that are just floating, you know, and then you kind of move up on the jump point, and then you got the whole swirly blue thing in the middle, and next thing you know, you're driving through it, you know. And maybe because
kind of like Star Trek Deep Space Nine's little wormhole.
Yes, but it had those devices around it, you know, and maybe a certain size ship wouldn't fit through those particular holes because of where the devices are located. Maybe that's their limiter, you know. No one really knows because no one's actually ever seen it before.
Actually, that's not the way the history's written, though, is it?
I don't know.
To be a natural. Yeah, they're supposed to be a natural occurring phenomena between gravity masses, as I understand.
Okay.
They have to be discovered.
I see.
Right.
And because they're natural, there's a limit to the size of the ship that can go through them. But don't ask me.
I got you. Well, I mean, that makes sense. They may have shot themselves in the foot on this then, you know?
Now, this was something that I actually had talked to with another friend of mine because we were talking about, are these going to be, physical barriers, like a structure that you'll fly through, or is it going to be like a wormhole that will open up, and then when you get into the wormhole, um, there's these physical objects that you're going to have to navigate through, like, or does it just like you enter one side and then boop, you pop out the other side? So
They
like,
haven't even invented it yet, so I think it's a moot point.
Yeah. I mean, we won't know until we see it, and
obviously,
yeah.
I'm fairly sure that the actual conceptual design of the whatever experience we're going to have going between the planets is so far down the pipeline at the moment that we're just not even going to see it for another 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, that's very possible too.
I don't know if that's entirely true because there's been projections of saying that Squadron 42 may end up releasing at the end of this year or next year. Um, and if that is true, I mean, Squadron 42 is a big part of what Star Citizen is going to be about. So,
Yeah.
the things that you're going to be seeing in Squadron 42, which I'm assuming, you're going to have, inter-system traveling within Squadron 42.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
believe so. I understood it to be all in one system, but that
really,
was only hearsay.
I can't imagine it being all in one system.
I don't know. I mean, I'm as in the dark as everybody else. I'm going by rumor I've picked up off of the chat channels and the YouTubes and what.
Well, if it was going to be in, one system, I mean, I guess it would have to be a heavy story with that single system. But I always looked at Squadron 42 as a giant tutorial as what to expect in Star Citizen.
I think it's probably more like a movie you're taking part.
Oh, you mean kind of like what is it? The teller novels or whatever, interactive novels kind of thing.
It looks to be coming up to be damn close to that. Yeah.
Tall Tales. Isn't that the company that makes those? I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Okay. Well, hey, listen, that was great, guys. Waz, did you have a question, or did you have something you wanted to talk about?
No, I'm okay. I'm just listening to you guys go ahead and talk and listen to the problems and
Okay. So
I've been supporting the game since about 2012, 2013. I've got a couple ships.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I'm a long time supporter. I've been kind of hanging back for a while because I don't want to spoil myself on the game too much. Um, to where when the game does release, it's like, oh, that's nothing new to me, and just get bored with it real quick.
Yeah, that's what I do. I jump on like maybe once a month, play around with it, get myself refamiliarized with all the controls, and then just hold back and wait for the big release.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that actually do that. I used to be very adamant about like, yeah, screw that. I want to play now. I want to be all into this. And what I found is that I've kind of had to pull back from that a little bit because, unless I can get together with a bunch of guys and maybe cause a little mayhem or maybe help somebody get rich, then it's almost not a lot of fun. I was telling him earlier that I had the Herald. I was in that for 2 hours today, and then I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go mine." No, I'm not gonna mine. I'm gonna go make some cargo runs. Then I noticed that they've readjusted um, the economy again, and you could I filled my Connie up with to the brim, and then made a supply run, and I made like frickin' like 200 coin. And I was like, how is this possible? I just spent 10 grand and I only made like 200. You know, I was thinking, well, maybe I bought it wrong or whatever it may be. But at those levels, I should be making a lot more money no matter what. You know, so they've made an adjustment to the economy again, and I haven't seen anybody talking about that at all. So I'm wondering if anybody's even noticing it, since they're so focused on Hurston and what is it um, the rally
Art
races.
Corp.
Yeah, our core. I mean, they're just everybody's so
Yeah.
focused on different things. I actually, if you have to, I honestly have to. Prior to Christmas, everybody was jacked about everything, and then after Christmas, everything just kind of died off.
Well, that's something that I kind of like wanted to talk about as well. Is like the way that they're handling development.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so you have people coming in, they're testing the game, but do they really need to focus on rebalancing, redistributing, restarting the economy, or do you think they should focus more on uh, core aspects of the game that aren't just in the game yet? Like
Yeah.
finishing ships, getting the system completed, getting the interactive systems of the ships, where you can repair them from the inside, being able to selectively target specific components of a ship to disable it, just overall more core aspects of the game than going back and rebalancing stuff. Because like I heard that Hurston, they accidentally added too much gravity to Hurston, and that they're not going to change it until they come out with the new flight model. Like, do we really need the new flight model right now, or should we, be focusing on other things in the game to actually get in the game? Like the medical bays and just a bunch of core features that just aren't in the game yet.
Yeah. I think that the answer to that question is like a double-edged sword. If they stop working on one thing that they've promised, everybody screams bloody murder. If they come up with a new ship, you got people who are like, "Whoa, I gotta have that," and the others are like, "Oh yeah, it's just a money pit. You'll never see it." The reality is that you're absolutely right. That's the God's honest truth. They should be doing all of that stuff. If you go to the economy, I say just quit messing with it. I remember a year ago when you would play in the economy and you could actually make some cash, and then just doing a couple of runs here and there, you could make a thousand credits, for an hour's worth of work. And well, in turn, what that does is it's like any other real economy. What do we do with our money? We spend it. We travel to different places to buy different armor and different guns and different ships. You know what I'm saying?
The economy is like just one piece of the puzzle, and as far as like messing with it this early in the game, I think it's pretty much a moot point due to the fact that economies generally need time to work themselves out to find an equilibrium, and then you can balance prices and things like that. But my concerns are more or less, looking at other games that I've played where they're in pre-alpha or alpha, and they have very much of the core gameplay done, and that's the time that you focus on balancing certain things, is toward the end of production of getting everything into the game, and then you start about rebalancing accordingly. Otherwise, you spend all this time throughout development balancing it this way, and then reverting it, and then balancing something else a different way, and then finding out that that's not quite working now we need to do this. I mean, there's just a lot of time and resources going into rebalancing and restructuring of things when you don't even have the core gameplay in yet. Like, I would say that as far as core gameplay right now, we're probably sitting roughly about 30% of what the game is, supposed to offer us.
Yeah, but I mean that's very possible. I just want them to stop messing with things. They need to, like, I think you're right. You need to work on the core gameplay. That they need to have a robust staff that does that. But I'm telling you right now that doesn't make them any money right now. and that's one of the things. So,
Well, I mean, as far as making money, if we want to move to that subject, the selling of ships, that's only going to get so far. It was great in the beginning to make fast cash, but I mean, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I think that if they want a steady flow of income, they need to move to a subscription-based model. I mean, it worked for Blizzard for a really long time with World of Warcraft, and that game has had 15 plus years of great service to the community, and they continued to work on that game throughout that time. I personally think that that's the way to go.
you
um,
shut your mouth, Mister. Yeah, I honestly, I was thinking about this yesterday, and it's like, at what point it's like, okay, so I spent all my money, I blew my ship up, I've just spawned at whatever god ugly planet they've made. What do I do to play this game? Do I break out the checkbook and buy credits? Do I sign on to a crew and it's they're somehow going to pay me that they somehow can't seem to figure out by now? It's kind
I
of mind
think
blowing.
that still falls in line with more core gameplay.
Yeah.
Things that has been promised to us. Like there's a few things that I find that hasn't been talked about. Like we have all these ships in the games. We have multi-cruise ships. I have a real good friend of mine that I had got into this game, and he bought a few multi-cruise ships or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't typically, you know, jump into like a big group of players and play because we're not typically around that many people. So now you have all these ginormous multi-cruise ships and nobody to really man them. I know they're talking about NPCs and stuff, but let's be really honest. I've yet to see an NPC in any game that can perform as good a job or better than a player.
Yeah.
So you have all these multi-cruise ships, and they're pretty much going to be these big ships that really aren't manned by anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might have one or two, maybe three people in one ship. I mean, if you have more than that, I mean, great. But like the average, gamer that sits around and plays games, with their friends, they typically, have just a handful of friends that they'll play at any one time.
Yeah.
Like as far as like say the Javelin or the Idris, we're talking, you know, 15 to 30 players to, man this ship to get it fully functional.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way everyone's going to be on at the same time to do something like that.
Yeah.
It's very, very moot, or not moot, but very rare for an entire group of people to be on like that, unless you're in this like really big org, and then at that point, things get unmanageable because
Yeah.
you're dealing with people that you're not used to talking to or have not talked to at all, and they're just kind of there like, hey.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
personally, I'm looking forward to a planet that has like forests. I'm looking for a planet that you're going to be able to do ground missions on and not be, you know, stuck to a ship to where, if you don't have a ship or a vehicle, that you're not making money. I feel like, certain missions should be, had on the ground and only on the ground, like
Yeah.
exploring a certain area, bringing back intel, material, whatever.
Yeah. The High Times, what do you think about the capital ship dilemma?
Which one? We've had several discussions about capital ships briefly.
Well, basically the ability to actually crew one.
Well, I think that is all going to develop. Quite honestly, I see this game maybe 5-7 years from now with orgs that are going to be 1,000 strong. And yes, you will dominate systems with capital ships, and yes, you will have 50 people on at a time. You just can't do it the way we're set up at the moment. We don't have enough players on at the same time in the same servers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, every time we go live on Saturday, I wish we could fill a server up. I wish we could fill up half a server, because if we could do that consistently, then we could actually like talk to other groups and say, "Oh, by the way, there's 25 slots on this server. Let's all do something," you know. But yeah, it's just not possible right now.
Well, that's the problem. I mean, while we're capped at 50 players, you can't get enough people together simultaneously from the same time zones to begin with.
Yep.
On the same server, in the same instance, doing the same thing, all wanting to be together.
Yeah.
It's not practical on a 50-person.
Well, I do know that they are spending a lot of resources right now trying to do R&D for server bashing, and they're trying to get it to work a specific way. And I did hear it was one of the ATVs. I don't remember which one it was. It was one fairly recently, where they were saying that if they can't get it to work this specific way, they're going to go to the next best thing. But they haven't quite given up on the way they want server meshing to work.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great concept of what they're trying to do. I hope they can do it before the game is released. Otherwise, people are going to be really pissed to find out that their 50-man ship is the only thing flying in the server.
They can't release the game until they do it.
Yeah.
This game is going to be in development until it's released to that capacity. Otherwise, they can't release it.
I got you. Yeah, it's very true. I mean, it's just what they are going to need to do.
Now, here's a favorite piss-off point of mine.
Okay.
Ports between ships and space stations. Why don't we have ports?
Wait, what? Why don't we have what?
Like the portals, you know, the hatch that you walk through to get into the space station.
Oh,
instead of having to wear a bloody spacesuit or
ship-to-ship docking. That was something that they was talking about recently. That at one point they thought that it wasn't going to be feasible and that they was going to have to scrap the idea, and now they're talking about it again. So, I mean, some ships still have the docking collars, some don't. And that was something back in like 2012, 2013, and 2014 that, you know, when they were running these ships through the pipeline, that docking collar was something that was going to be universal throughout ships, which is why we see it on the Freelancer. It's why we see it on the 300 series Origin Jump Works. It's why we see it on the Connie and the Aurora, because this was supposed to be the standard UEE docking collar for ships across the board. But they just haven't fleshed it out, or I don't even know if they've even worked on it entirely. But they had seen something in the code that they were saying that, you know, it might not be something that we can do, which is why some ships don't have them anymore.
It's interesting. I honestly can't see why they wouldn't be able to pull it off.
It's an immersion breaker. It's an immersion breaker to have to wear a spacesuit 24.
Yeah, and that also goes against what Chris Roberts was saying about clothing and spacesuits. He says, you know, he wants to give dynamic reasons why you shouldn't wear a spacesuit all the time. Currently, the only thing that we have right now on why we shouldn't wear a spacesuit is we're going to run out of oxygen.
Well, that's a buzzkill, man.
Yeah, I mean,
especially sitting in your own ship. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm totally with you. That was one of the things that had me really excited about this game, was being able to dock to another ship, you know, another player ship, because that's something that we haven't seen in any game ever.
Exactly. I mean, the big attraction of this game is that you have a first-person shooter type dude that you can put in a spaceship and walk in and out of a building. I mean, that's not quite the same as most games. Most
Yeah.
of them, it's one item. You know, you're either a ship or you're a guy. You're not a guy in a ship. You know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the only other game that I feel that came close to the concept of, breaking that point, where you were either the guy or the ship, was like Pulsar Lost Colony. It was a great game. I've played, quite a bit of it. Then, came out No Man's Sky, which, let's be honest, it was shit when it first came out, but I heard that it's gotten better. I don't own the game. I just, keep up with, what's going on. And then you have Astroneers, and then you had Space Engineers, certain indie games that, do stuff like that. But the only game that I see that's, tackling it the way that, we all feel that it should be tackled is Star Citizen, because some of these other games, like, for example, Space Engineers or Empyrean Galactic, um, you know, when you're inside the ship and that ship is in motion, guess what happens to your character? You fall out. And Pulsar Lost Colony, yeah, you can move around in the ship, and they do certain things, but that game is built on instance base.
Yeah.
So the way that game is set up, they don't have it set up to where your character can ever go outside of that ship, because that ship is just this big giant block of area in space, and your character is confined to that block and can never go out of it.
The windows are its portal to the world, so to speak.
Exactly, yes. But I mean, I think what attracted a lot of people to Star Citizen is the fact that you can get in and out of your ship, and you can move around in it while it's in motion and tumbling and whatever.
Well, that is the whole point, isn't it? I mean, that's
yeah.
what makes the big draw.
Yeah, I mean, and the fact that you can't dock to other ships and move from instance to instance, like that, it is definitely immersion breaking. I think what is also immersion breaking is the grid of the ship. Where, like, let's say you're actually EVA'd outside of the ship, and then EVA to the inside of the ship. It's like once you cross this magical barrier, you face plant on the floorboards. Like,
yeah, instant gravity, pow.
yeah, I think that there needs to be a way to disable gravity in the internal parts of the ship, so that when you are EVAing, that it feels more seamless when you're transitioning.
Now, that's actually a good idea. We should have the gravity off when the doors are open and that kind of thing, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I believe that would, have immersion go to a completely another level when it comes to EVAing. And who knows, it might actually make things a lot better as far as pulling a ship outside of an internal grid of another ship. Like, for example, the Ursa rover, and the bug with the Connies. It might even be that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just might. Yeah, lose the gravity and switch it back on when the ship seals up. So.
Yeah, I think that might work.
Yeah, it's pretty Sig doesn't take suggestions, isn't it?
All right, everybody get on Spectrum and start spamming the hell out of them right now. Just type one word: gravity.
Well, they had
gravity.
the one demo. What demo was that? Was it the Star Marine demo where that you turn off the gravity generator?
I never saw that one.
Oh, I think it was the Star Marine demo. Where they had a team come in to either turn off the gravity generator of another ship and whatnot. Like, I don't understand why that's not a thing just yet.
Yeah.
I mean, like.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. We've only just been able to lock the bloody ships.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have been good with, you know, the ships being unlocked for a little while longer, as long as more gameplay came in, because I think, you know, having the ability to lock a ship is probably really easy to code.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that bad. Okay. Well, are you guys following any of the that new ship that just came out? The Argo?
No, it didn't catch my interest at all. Looked like a glorified cash grab, to be frank.
Yeah, and it could be. It is concept. I did put a little mini video together. If you guys are watching the stream, you'd be able to see it. And I shall show it to everybody else. It's about 2 minutes long. Everybody can catch their breath, drink their drink, or whatever it may be. And let's see if this button actually works.
The Argo SRV is an entry-level single-man search and recovery vehicle that primarily focuses around using tractor beams. So it's our first ship that has dedicated tractor beam functionality as its main gameplay feature. Lots of other ships do have tractor beams, but they're sort of ancillary for helping do their primary function. But it's a very collaborative ship. Obviously, as a recovery ship, you need someone else to be recovered. If there's not players requesting this, we'll have NPC missions to accept and take on. So there will always be something to do, whether it's NPC or players. But you can use it as a group for some of those other gameplay loops, like mining or salvage, to help with those. The SRV, its sole focus is purely around its tractor beam and recovering other vehicles. The Argo SRV is an entry-level single-man search and recovery vehicle that primarily focuses around using tractor beams. So it's our first ship that has dedicated tractor beam functionality as its main gameplay feature. Lots of other ships do have tractor beams, but they're sort of ancillary for helping do their primary function. But it's a very collaborative ship. Obviously, as a recovery ship, you need someone else to be recovered. If there's not players requesting this, we'll have... The Argo SRV is an entry-level single-man search and recovery vehicle that primarily focuses around using tractor beams. So it's our first ship that has dedicated tractor beam functionality as its main gameplay feature. Lots of other ships do have tractor beams, but they're sort of ancillary for helping do their primary function. But it's a very collaborative ship. Obviously, as a recovery ship, you need someone else to be recovered. If there's not players requesting this, we'll have NPC missions to accept and take on. So there will always be something to do, whether it's NPC or players. But you can use it as a group for some of those other gameplay loops, like mining or salvage, to help with those. The SRV, its sole focus is purely around its tractor beam and recovering other vehicles.
Okay. So, did everybody run off for a smoke break? Is that what happened? Waj, you still around?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. I just missed the button when I tried to push it down. I pushed the wrong one.
I gotcha. Did you happen to see that video?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I don't use Twitch and stuff like that. You guys said something about posting gravity and something. I didn't know where you're talking.
Well, yeah, there's you use YouTube?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Let's see. Where is that?
Yeah, if you'll put it in the chat, I'll
definitely. Yeah, Twitch is a faster stream, but YouTube works just the same.
I've never tried Twitch, so
yeah, it can be a little different, but like I said, it does work. Where are we at? Where's my?
The problem I had with Twitch when I turned it on is I was getting a 4-second lag, so I could hear everybody 4 seconds speaking behind me.
Oh yeah.
I'm hearing everybody speak twice.
Well, you probably have your sound is probably on for one of the video if you have a video playing in the background. Where's that damn? Where's my...
I'm on Twitch now. I can see it. I
Back
know
in a minute.
there's videos on it, so I thought it was for games or something.
Well, it's a lot of gamers end up there, but it was originally designed for like TV viewing. But we have a channel that we dual stream on. You should be able to view it. Are you seeing it now, or are you just you?
I don't know how to link it up. If you're running it through like Discord or something, I don't know how.
Hold on a second. All you should have to do is click this link. Do that. All you should have to do is click that link.
Okay, that worked. Okay, this is the same one above. Yeah, I did watch this already.
Okay, well that's the live stream. Okay, now we got that technical issue taken care of. Let's see, I had another guest that was actually, I had two other guests that were supposed to show up that kind of didn't. Let's see, so I won't call them out, but let's see. We can do something, one last thing, and then we'll just close it out, because I'm sure at a certain point people will get tired of talking about stuff, so.
All right, I'm back.
All right.
What did I miss?
Nothing.
I just try to keep positive about things until the final day everything comes out.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying, like, I feel like progression would be a lot faster and smoother if they focused on more development of core gameplay over rebalancing of the game.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
I feel like rebalancing right now is just gonna be a very wasted effort of time and resources. I mean, there's really no point in trying to rebalance a game that's not even released yet. I mean, you know, when you go into beta, that's when you start balancing things.
Yeah. So what do you think the fanboy ripple would be if they came out tomorrow and said, we've stopped work on the Carrack until we have things balanced?
I would be very upset. Because, you know, the Carrack is supposed to be, you know, core gameplay. I mean, you've developed the ship. You know, it needs to be delivered. You know, as far as rebalancing, I mean, it just goes with, you know, any game that has ever made it through alpha to beta to release. I mean, you know, alpha is where you're still adding, you know, core components into the game. Beta is where you start, you know, tweaking and critiquing, you know, little things and, you know, to get the balance right of the game. I mean, I just don't think that, you know, where we're at in the state of the game that we should be focusing anything on rebalancing. You know, like the new flight model that's coming in. I mean, I can understand about that to a degree, because that's partly core gameplay. But as far as, you know, rebalancing ships, you know, thruster mechanics, you know, weapon damage, economy, I don't think that we should be focusing our efforts on that at this current time in development.
Okay. Valid opinions.
I disagree with you on some of them, you know, because many of them are related to core gameplay in their own right, and they're trying to refine that core gameplay as they do.
I mean, if it's just simple like number tweaks and stuff, you know, as far as like, you know, this gun is doing too much damage, or this, you know, doesn't have enough thrust, or too little thrust. I mean, that's stuff that can be handled later.
Why?
Because
my point is, and by why I'm trying to say is, why, if it's such a small thing, why not address it immediately so you can build on that from your next video?
Because as you continue to develop the game, those numbers are going to change again. You know, you're going to come out with a new system. You know, the shields, armor plating, whatever. Like all that stuff is going to change. Like nothing's finite right now, which is why I'm saying that like we need to focus more on core gameplay over balance changes, because balance changes can be handled at a later time and date, whereas core gameplay needs to be in the game like right now. Whereas,
okay, so as far as core gameplay, what do you interpret that to be our next thing we should be looking for as a patch?
That is a good question. Let me think about that for a second, because there's a lot that I think that needs to be in the game right now. As far as the next major milestone that should be into the game that I think would add more dynamic to the game for players is system targeting. I think being able to target somebody's engines or shields specifically to disable a ship, I think that would be a lot more engaging for people as right now, and that would be just one more box that we can tick off the list to add as core gameplay. And then the next one after that should be the systems repairs on the internal parts of the ship, to where we have these panels that we can take off of the ship, and get that little mini gameplay to where we can go and repair those components of the ship before we get docked on or whatever. I think those should be the next two things into the game as soon as possible that will add a lot more playability, even if it's just people running around being douchebags to people and just seeing if they can get a good lock on your engines or whatever. I feel like that would just add a whole plethora of possibilities within just those two mechanics being added to the game.
Well, the good news is I'm pretty sure they've already got the lock on to systems. The that was when we played a couple weeks ago. That's the one thing I noticed is you'd cycle through the radar. It would be going through once you were locked onto one of the ships. You could cycle through and target different things.
Okay.
I noticed that you could, if it had different engines, you could cycle through the engines, and I think you could cycle through the shields. But I didn't do a lot with it because it's nice to be able to target stuff, but when the missiles only glue to a ship and don't do anything, then it's almost useless.
When did the missiles break? Because I remember on my 325A, my missiles were able to work.
I think they broke in this last patch. It's almost like they fix them, they break them, they fix them, they break them. I'm not sure of the math that they're using on that, but sometimes they work, and sometimes they just kind of stick to you and fly around with you.
Okay. I wasn't aware that there was an issue with the missiles, because the missiles was something that had been working in the game for a long time.
Yeah. No, I've always wanted to use mine, and I've never been able to use them right, so I guess it's just a matter of trial and error at this point. Okay, let's see. We're going to close it up here, but I had a second... Let me see something here. I had a second topic, and I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, if anybody watched the Reverse the Verse today, I'm sorry to hear that. If you missed it, that's probably for the best. It was another Reverse the Verse about sound, audio, and stuff, and they literally talked for an hour about the sounds of things.
Oh, the sounds of the new thrusters that they're trying to get in for the new flight models and stuff.
Just everything. They had these 3 audio engineers, and you had freaking Disco there, and it was kind of comical, but the reality is that no one wants to listen to an hour about audio.
I remember when Disco Lando was portrayed as just a player of the game and not somebody that was within the company.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's in the corporate world, the more money they throw at you, the more responsibility you have, the bigger headaches you get. I guess that's why he had a 30-day vacation. I don't know many people that get that. So it was interesting.
I get a 59-day vacation after 3 years.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I wouldn't spend a lot of it playing Star Citizen, but good for you.
I don't know. I think sound is really a big aspect to a game, because there are some players out there that can play a game without sound, but you know, for a game like this,
Yeah, that's a good one.
or like any other game really, like imagine playing Call of Duty with no sound, or Skyrim or something like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like this. It's kind of like sound is
actually that noise is just
to a tread what tire it, or to a tire what tread is. Everybody wants to have it. It makes them feel good. But no one really cares until they don't have it.
That is such a great analogy. Like it really is.
Yeah.
It's like, what is tread? Like, I don't need that. And then you go hydroplane into a wall.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy the sounds. I love all the Drake Industry ships because of the sound that they make. It's just this. It's almost like this medieval like grinding of power, and it's there. But I figured I'd throw that out there since these are the worst the RTVs there are. I mean, you really got to be into audio and sound to enjoy them. It's third question in. Somebody started like, so what will the sound be like in the Carrack? Disco rolls his eyes.
Wow. Apparently, the Carrack has become his favorite ship right now. I don't know if it's because of its increased popularity or whatever, but I mean, I think the Carrack's a great ship. But I feel like where that ship stands, and I'm kind of going off topic here, a lot of people's gonna have that ship, and you're gonna see it just everywhere.
We'll see what happens, man. We shall see what happens. All right, let's see. And the last thing I'm going to bring up is let me go ahead and minimize that and kill it. And let's see. So a couple of things that I ran across today. I got an email, and I don't normally read these things. These Chairman's Club emails, but I started.
Oh.
Yeah,
I've read a few of them.
Yeah, well, normally they're just trying to sell you something, and they write these 3 or 4 paragraphs that don't make any sense whatsoever, but they're trying to sell you something. And then I noticed that they had some links in it that kind of got my attention, so I started clicking on them. And then, so one of them was like a link to the hot topics for the concierge service. And where are we at here? So the whole Heart Seeker. It's going to be it's a loaner. The loaner
is that the Valentine's Day thing?
Yeah. Well, the loaner for the Heartseeker is currently being worked on and will be in game shortly. They don't say what it really is. Where are we at here? Pirate Caterpillar Glaive upgrade. Please be aware that these upgrades are only available when we announce the promotion for them. Idris K questions. The upgraded kit is not a traditional upgrade. And they give these different links, and the one that caught my attention was the buyback. Nobody ever talks about the buyback schedule, but for anybody who's listening, the next buyback is April the 8th.
Now, what is the buyback? Is that where they buy back a ship that you bought, or what is that?
I believe that's what it is. High Times, do you know exactly what it is or was? Because I've never used buyback.
No idea. Never used
I don't know what it is either.
Yeah. Or hold on a second. Find the process of our knowledge base article. I'm going to click on that. Okay, so the pledge buyback tool. When a pledge has been reclaimed, it is removed from your account, and store credit is attributed to spend on the store. If the pledge is not limited in nature, it may appear in your pledge buyback queue.
Oh, I think it has something to do with melting a ship and then wanting to have it back.
Yeah.
Like you changed your mind. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be. And there are big bold letters. Not everything can be bought back. Limited pledges, AMD packages, discount combo packs, pledges with physical items attached to them. So my thing that I gather from that is the limited pledges and the AMD packages. And the discounted combo packs, you'll never get those back. You can't buy them back. Buyback tokens. But I thought everybody should know about that. It's not something that's common, so. And then
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
while we're talking about oddball things like that,
Yeah.
in my account, I have a T-shirt and some Centennial token thing. What the hell are they?
Well, the T-shirt is supposed to be something that you can actually wear in game, but I've never seen it in my menu. It's that ugly red one with the white letters on it, or no, yellow letters on it.
Yeah, I can't find these things anywhere else. You know, they're not in my menu. They're not in my hangers.
Yeah.
They're not anywhere.
The first thing you have to check is you have to take your spacesuit off. If you take your spacesuit off, it defaults to a clothing menu.
Oh yeah, I've done all that. I usually, when I'm not actually dying in my spaceship for not wearing a spacesuit, I usually don't have one.
Yeah. I just recently learned how to wear clothes myself. I even bought one of those stupid bag breathing helmets. It's so ridiculous. But I know, right? But
were you looking at under your My Hanger thing here?
What are you?
Yeah, I think it's under. No, it's under my account. I think.
Yeah.
It'd be your account in My Hanger, right?
No,
where you can.
I think so. Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, there it is.
Now.
Yeah, when you go to My Hanger, you have my gears, my ROMs, buyback pledges, and electronic assets. So my gear. So these are this is stuff that you can either wear or you'll have like in your hanger.
But it doesn't go in the hanger. It won't go in. It's not there.
Like I have the two T-shirts. I have the Eon Club T-shirt and the Epoch Society T-shirt.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget about the 200 million commemorative coin.
I do have that too. And the Badger and badges. What else do I have? I'm about to go back from like where I like first pledged.
Yeah, it's a lot of scrolling to see. And I've never seen this Epoch T-shirt. I've never been able to wear it, but that's another story. So, okay, and I think that was it.
December 2014 back. Oh, the models, the Mustang box, and okay.
Right. Well, I think that's going to be it for tonight, guys. And
okay, thank you very much.
Yep, I'm going to try and do this every Friday. We'll see if it works out. A lot of the times, the live stuff, we don't get a lot of views, maybe anywhere from 7 to 10. But then when it gets pushed back out and retweeted, people watch it, during the daytime, that kind of thing. They just had better things to do than waste their life on a video game that's not real yet on a Friday night. So,
yeah, well, that is movie night, isn't it?
But where are we at here? So basically, it's that time. Thanks for coming, and hopefully I'll see you next week. We will be going at 8 o'clock tomorrow night if you guys are interested in playing.
Definitely. What are we planning?
Hey, who do we look for? I don't even know you guys' names in the system on the game. So I usually jump in like once in a great while and group up with people.
Yeah. So, hey, Waz, you're part of the Real Star Citizen Facebook group, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just before we play, like the day before we play, I'll put a post out that says, "Hey, update all your player names if you're interested in playing." And that's actually that's a Google spreadsheet, and it has every player in the group who has played with us before.
Okay.
And you can literally like the day before, I'll update my list. I've probably put 20 names in there now.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, and if you have a problem with it, let me know, and I'll make sure that you get a link to it. That way you can add the people that you want to play with.
All right, then.
So what are we doing? All meeting here at 8 o'clock tomorrow?
Yep. Don't bother logging in because we'll try to get a group together.
That's the idea. We all come here tomorrow, and then we'll log in together.
That will be the plan.
All right, fellas. Well, I enjoyed our night. Had some pretty good conversations, some speculative.
Oh, I can't wait to see the YouTube comments about how retarded everybody is. But hey, that's okay too.
Definitely.
We're all a little retarded in our own special way. All right, guys. It was a good night. I'll talk to you tomorrow or the next day or maybe next week or whatever it may be. But it was a good time, and thanks for coming out.
All right, have a good one.
All right.
All right, fellas. Later.